The camera caught me folding napkins. Dad held his phone steady, recording every move while I arranged forks and spoons around the dining table. 16 seconds of footage that would change everything. He pressed upload without thinking twice. The words appeared underneath. "Look at this failure. She was always a servant." My brother and sister burst out laughing from the couch. Mom turned away toward the kitchen window. I froze with a glass in my hand, my cheeks burning hot while everyone found it funny. Their laughter filled every corner of the room except where I stood. I didn't argue. I grabbed my jacket, walked straight through the front door, and never turned around. Morning arrived, and their phones started ringing for completely different reasons. The servant they made fun of had finally stopped doing everything for them. Before we continue, drop a comment telling me which state you're from, so I know you're watching and listening to this story. Thanksgiving looked identical every single year in our family. Same brown gravy boat, same football game sounds coming from the television, same unspoken understanding that nobody talked about. I did all the work. They relaxed and enjoyed themselves. Year after year, I convinced myself everything was okay, that avoiding problems was smarter than creating arguments. But something broke inside me the second Dad clicked that post button. He didn't even look my direction after sharing that video online. He simply laughed and told me, "Calm down, Lily. It's just for fun." My sister Kelly rolled her eyes without glancing up from scrolling. My brother Marcus mumbled something about me needing to lighten up more often. And Mom, Patricia, just kept staring at the mashed potatoes, acting like nothing important was happening around her. That's what she did best. Act like problems didn't exist. I'd been the family problem solver since elementary school. The person who juggled multiple jobs, cleared small loans, gave money freely, kept her mouth shut. When electric bills arrived late, I handled them. When Kelly maxed out her debit card, I fixed it. When Dad wanted new power tools, I bought them with my credit card. Somehow, being responsible transformed into being treated like hired help. That evening, sitting by myself at Aunt Carol's breakfast bar, I finally watched the video again. 16 seconds total. No background music, no explanation, just me arranging cloth napkins carefully. The caption underneath glowed bright. "Look at this failure. She was always a servant." The comment section below made everything worse. Crying, laughing faces, thumbs up from strangers I'd never met before. Marcus had left a comment. "At least she's useful for something." Kelly responded with more laughing emojis. A random cousin even participated. "That's so Lily, always busy cleaning." I'd spent my entire existence being helpful to everyone, but being helpful doesn't create respect or love. Carol didn't lecture me when she discovered me replaying it endlessly. She simply handed me a soft blanket and said quietly, "You don't need to give them anything else." For the first time in forever, I actually believed what someone told me. Sleep never came. I sat near the big window, watching streetlights blink above the empty driveway outside. My phone kept buzzing constantly. Messages from Marcus, from Mom, even from Dad himself, each text getting shorter and meaner than before. Nobody apologized once. Not a single person checked whether I felt all right. By sunrise, something deep inside had completely changed. It wasn't pure anger exactly. It felt more like the opposite of anger. Like when storms finish and everything becomes quiet, but you understand nothing will ever be the same again. I shut my laptop, pushed my phone far across the counter, and whispered to the empty room, "They can keep laughing forever. I'm finished being their servant." Morning number 2 felt cold and sharp enough to slice through thoughts. I stepped outside before sunrise, still wearing yesterday's sweatshirt, watching the sky turn purple and gray. Carol's front steps smelled like fresh coffee and wet leaves. She didn't question what happened yesterday. She understood enough already. That's what made breathing easier here. No uncomfortable questions, no fake smiles, just peaceful silence. Around 8 o'clock, my phone lit up again. Kelly, her name appearing on the screen like static electricity. Her message was extremely short. "Why can't I withdraw $2,000 from your account?" No hello, no sorry, no mention of the horrible thing that happened during Thanksgiving dinner. Just pure entitlement, casual and rude, like she was asking me to pass the butter. I stared at those words so long they started looking blurry. Then I actually laughed out loud, a dry sound with zero humor that surprised even myself. I had closed that shared bank account hours before, moving every single dollar into a brand new private account only I could touch. After the Facebook post, after the cold silence, after the countless years of being the one who paid bills and cleaned messes and forgave everything, something finally made sense. They didn't care about me as a person. They only cared about what I could provide for them. Kelly sent another message immediately. Are you being serious right now? I need that cash today. Then one more appeared. You're absolutely unbelievable. Bitter much. My fingers hung above the keyboard, but I refused to type anything back. Instead, I scrolled backward through our old text conversations, discovering years of her asking to borrow, me saying yes automatically. Movie tickets, urgent car fixes, birthday restaurants she swore she'd help pay for but never actually did. Everything was documented there, a digital diary of every single time I said yes, when I desperately wanted to say no. Carol walked inside, tying her bathrobe tighter around her waist. You're awake early, she asked gently. I think I finally woke up from a really long nightmare, I answered honestly. She didn't push for more details, just nodded like she completely understood what I meant without explanation. At lunchtime, Dad's message finally arrived on my screen. You've always been so dramatic. Act like an adult. That particular message didn't cause pain anymore. It proved everything I already believed deep down. The same man who filmed me like some kind of joke couldn't even pretend to feel sorry. It actually felt freeing somehow. I opened my computer, began organizing all my money information, sorting through bank statements and payment records carefully. The numbers made me feel grounded and stable. They represented the only things that actually made logical sense anymore. What I earned through hard work, what people owed me, what truly belonged to me alone. My total savings showed $21,364 exactly. Every single penny represented a small piece of myself they never appreciated or valued properly. I didn't feel angry anymore at all. Anger feels loud and chaotic and messy. This feeling was much colder, much quieter, like the stillness right before a forest fire starts burning everything down. That night, I wrote everything down on paper. Specific dates, printed screenshots, detailed notes about patterns. Not because I wanted revenge yet, but because I desperately needed proof that everything really happened, that I hadn't imagined the terrible pattern over the years. Before climbing into bed, I placed my phone face down on the nightstand and said into the darkness, I'm not anyone's servant anymore. It wasn't some big announcement or declaration. It was simply a true fact I tucked away safely. By Sunday morning, the complete silence from that house started feeling heavier than any insult ever could. 0 phone calls, 0 text messages, not even one fake apology from anyone, just empty quiet, the type that hums softly after dangerous storms pass through. I stopped waiting for peace offerings anymore. I was waiting for something clearer now. And when it finally came, it showed up in another message from Kelly's number. This time, she completely skipped any greeting whatsoever. I need the money right now. Don't be mean and spiteful. My thumb stayed hovering above the phone screen before I finally typed carefully. The account's closed permanently. Don't ask me again ever. No long explanation, no gentle kindness, just pure honest truth. Seconds later, the little typing dots appeared on screen. Then suddenly a huge wave of messages flooded in. Words like selfish, controlling, bitter person. Then finally, the message that actually made me smile slightly. You've completely changed. She was absolutely right about that. I had changed completely. I spent that entire Sunday quietly removing every single door they'd ever used to reach me financially. Freezing shared credit cards, changing every password, redirecting all my mail to Carol's address. Each mouse click, each confirmation email that appeared felt like untying another thick rope that had been choking me for so many years. Carol noticed all the papers covering the dining room table completely. You're cleaning house, she observed quietly. More like kicking out ghosts, I replied honestly. She smiled just a little bit. Good, it's about time someone did. That evening, I started digging much deeper, not from spite or revenge, but from genuine curiosity about the truth. I pulled up my credit report online, something I hadn't bothered checking in several months. My stomach twisted tight as the page slowly loaded on screen. 2 credit cards appeared, both under my legal name, one currently open with a $2,400 balance showing, another closed account with multiple missed payments. I had never opened either card myself. The room suddenly felt much smaller and tighter. For what felt like forever, I just stared at those numbers, feeling my heartbeat climbing faster. Then I printed absolutely everything, slid all the pages into a manila folder and wrote across the front in thick marker, "Evidence." I walked straight into Carol and her husband David's living room, where the television was flickering blue light across their tired faces. "He used my name," I said flatly without emotion. Carol immediately muted the show. "Who did?" she asked carefully. "My dad at least twice, possibly more times," I answered. David leaned forward in his chair, his voice staying calm but very firm. "Then you document everything carefully. All of it. We'll figure out the next steps together." There was zero yelling, zero chaos or drama, just a clear, simple plan moving forward. It felt strange how peaceful justice could feel when it finally belonged to you instead of someone else. Later that same night, I opened my text messages one final time. Another text from Kelly blinked on the bright screen. "Why are you doing this to us? We're family." I typed back just 3 simple words, "Don't ask again." Then I added one more line, 5 words that weren't planned ahead but felt absolutely perfect in the moment. "Don't ask a servant." I pressed send hard. The words hung in the air like a mirror suddenly turned back on its creator. For once, silence didn't feel like emptiness at all. It felt like real power. I didn't sit around waiting for anyone to say sorry. The morning after I told Kelly never to ask again, I spread everything across Carol's long dining table. Papers, printed screenshots, bank statements, proof of an entire lifetime spent paying for people who called me a servant behind my back. Each individual page told the exact same story repeatedly. They took and took. I gave and gave. And the moment I stopped giving, I became the bad guy suddenly. David sat across from me, reading through everything silently. When he reached the 2 mystery credit cards on my report, one open account, one closed with missed payments recorded, he didn't look shocked or surprised. He just nodded once slowly, the way someone does when the truth finally matches what they've suspected for years. Carol called a lawyer her friend knew personally. The office was tiny with beige walls and stale coffee smell everywhere, but the lawyer's voice sounded calm and factual. "Did you personally authorize these accounts?" she asked directly. "No, never," I answered. "Do you have solid proof?" she continued. "Yes, absolutely," I confirmed. She wrote a list that sounded more like instructions for justice. File fraud reports immediately, freeze credit completely, notify the bank officially, contact relatives carefully. It didn't feel like revenge at all. It felt like repairing something broken. That same afternoon, I completed everything on the list. Every single form, every phone call, every official word that moved my story out of family gossip and into legal records that mattered. Each confirmation email represented another knot untied. When I got back to Carol's house, a brand new group chat had appeared on my phone screen. Marcus, Kelly, and me together. The first photo made my breath stop completely. My old childhood bedroom with drawers ripped open violently, mirror completely shattered, Marcus's caption underneath. "Cleaning day." Then Kelly added, "Should have grabbed your stuff." I stared at the screen until I completely stopped feeling anything at all. Carol leaned over my shoulder, took her own photo of the destroyed room. "Don't delete a single thing," she said firmly. Minutes passed, then my cousin Noah sent a text message. He lived near my parents' house and could check if anything was worth saving. 15 minutes after that, another photo appeared showing my laptop, passport, and a stack of old letters sitting on his passenger seat. "Saved what I could," he wrote simply. I told him strongly not to go back there again. That night, I called several relatives my father had borrowed money from using my name. Their voices sounded embarrassed and quiet. Each person had sent him hundreds or thousands of dollars, believing I was sick or drowning in debt. I wrote down every single name, every exact amount. By the time I finished writing, my notebook looked like an autopsy of broken trust. When I froze my credit that night, I didn't feel anger, just complete clarity. The math of abuse finally balanced. What they'd stolen, what they'd lose. Around midnight, I filled a large manila envelope with every piece of evidence I'd collected. Screenshots, bills, photos, Kelly's text, the Facebook caption, and my note on top. "Don't ask a servant." Carol didn't ask questions when I grabbed her car keys off the hook. The street outside was completely quiet. November air felt crisp and cold. I parked directly in front of my parents' house, slipped the envelope into their mailbox, and left without knocking once. It didn't feel like vengeance or revenge. It felt like closing a heavy book forever. The next morning, an email appeared from an unfamiliar name I didn't recognize. My father's boss from work. He'd seen the Facebook video before Dad deleted it completely. He wrote, "Just wanted to check if you're okay." No judgment, no lecture, just that simple message. I didn't reply back. The damage was already done, and not to me this time around. 2 days later, an envelope arrived at Carol's house. My name written on it, no return address anywhere. Inside, 2 old photographs. Me as a baby in Patricia's arms, and another of me camping with Victor's arm around me. Beneath them, a handwritten letter. "You were always difficult. You thought you were better than us. I took a small loan in your name. I planned to pay it off. It wasn't much." I read that line until the words completely lost meaning, then added the letter to my folder of evidence. People always confess when they think confession will save them from consequences. It won't save them. The lawyer confirmed what we already knew. The letter was a written admission of guilt. She spoke calmly, explaining the process clearly. Reports filed, investigations opened, banks contacted. She said it could take weeks, possibly months, but it would stick. Real justice always moves slowly. By Thursday, Marcus texted, "You made this a big deal. We were joking. Grow thicker skin." 10 minutes later, "Can we talk like normal people?" I didn't reply. Normal was their word for comfortable cruelty. That evening, messages from Kelly flooded my phone, voicemails, texts, one angry line after another. She tried to open a new credit card and got flagged for fraud. "What did you do? You ruined my life." I typed one sentence back. "I secured mine." For the first time, I felt the weight shift. They were finally living with consequences they couldn't transfer to me. A few days later, Patricia called. I let it go to voicemail, but then a text followed. "There's something of yours I kept safe." Noah went instead. He found a small box under my old bed, a tangle of photos, receipts, and at the bottom, a savings booklet. It showed a balance once over $3,000, withdrawn completely the week after my 21st birthday. My father's signature at the bottom. I added it to the file. Every piece of paper was a step back toward myself. That weekend, Marcus asked to meet at a diner. I said yes, mostly out of curiosity. He looked smaller when he walked in, shoulders slumped, hoodie faded. "Dad's unraveling," he said before sitting down. He told me Patricia had left and filed for divorce. Victor had been written up at work for misconduct and missed shifts. He said, "You're going to press charges, right?" I didn't answer. He kept talking about how he believed Dad because it was easier, how he joined the laughter because silence made him feel weak. When he stopped, I said, "Don't ever speak for me again." He nodded. No argument. On the drive home, I passed the river. For the first time, it looked still instead of heavy. My phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number, one of Victor's coworkers. "I heard what happened. People talk. Keep your head up." The irony wasn't lost on me. My father wanted the world to laugh at me. Instead, the world was watching him unravel. The next morning, the lawyer called. The bank had confirmed activity tied to Victor's name on the accounts opened under mine. She said words like federal offense and identity theft, phrases that used to sound like headlines but now belonged to my story. I thanked her, hung up, and stood for a moment, letting the silence of Carol's kitchen settle around me. Carol came in with 2 mugs of coffee. I shook my head, smiling. She set one down anyway. "You don't have to serve anyone anymore," she said. I left it there to cool, untouched, because for the first time I had a choice. Spring came slowly that year, quiet and steady, like my life rebuilding itself without asking for permission. The investigation took weeks, but every new email from the lawyer felt like a brick set in place. The fraud reports were accepted. The accounts were frozen. The loans traced back to Victor. For once, the facts didn't bend to his story. Patricia filed for divorce. She moved into a small apartment near her sister's house and sent word through Carol that she wasn't asking for forgiveness, just a chance to start over. I didn't respond. Some things are better left unfinished. Kelly vanished after her last outburst. The credit flag had followed her. She couldn't open new accounts. Marcus stopped trying to justify anything. The last time I saw him, he looked at me with something between guilt and respect. "You were right," he said quietly and left it there. And Victor, he lost his job. The company did a background review after the fraud report surfaced. Turns out the same pride that made him humiliate me on Facebook cost him the only thing he valued more than control: reputation. By April, my savings had climbed from $21,000 to almost $30,000. I took on a steady office job, nothing fancy but mine. The hours were calm. I slept well. I ate properly. I learned what peace actually sounded like. It wasn't silence, it was safety. Some nights I sat on Carol's porch, the same spot where I'd first realized my world was falling apart. But now the air didn't sting. It just felt still. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't forgiving either. I was free. By the end of spring, I toured a small apartment near the river. The windows faced east, catching the first light, and the air smelled like something new. Carol and David offered to help me move, but I told them I'd do it myself. It wasn't pride, it was closure. I unpacked my things slowly, one box at a time. No noise, no panic, just stillness. My life was finally mine. People still ask what happened to my family. I tell them nothing happened. They just met the version of me that stopped apologizing. Victor lost his control. Kelly lost her access. Marcus lost his excuses, but I didn't lose anything worth keeping. They once said I'd always be a servant. They were right about one thing. I did serve. I served lessons they'll never forget. If you've ever had to walk away from family to protect your peace, you're not alone. Share your story below and don't forget to subscribe to Glow Girl Revenge for the next chapter. The apartment smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. I arranged furniture carefully, placed books on shelves, hung curtains that let morning light pour through. Each decision was mine alone. No one telling me what looked better, no one judging my choices. The freedom felt almost too big at first, like wearing shoes 2 sizes larger, but I grew into it. I started cooking meals I actually enjoyed, not just what everyone else wanted. I watched movies I picked. I stayed up late reading without someone complaining about the light. Small things that added up to a completely different life. One afternoon, I sat at my new kitchen table with my laptop open, reviewing my budget. Everything balanced perfectly. No mysterious charges, no unexpected debts, just my money doing what I told it to do. The control felt incredible. A notification popped up, an email from the lawyer. The investigation had concluded. Victor faced charges for identity theft. The accounts were cleared from my record. She attached official documents proving my innocence. I saved everything to a folder labeled Freedom and closed my laptop. That evening, I walked to the river. The water moved slowly, reflecting sunset colors. I thought about all the years I spent folding napkins, paying bills, fixing problems that weren't mine. I thought about the video, the laughter, the moment everything shattered. And I realized something important. That moment didn't break me. It freed me. The next week, I enrolled in a painting class, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for. The instructor was kind, the other students were friendly, and for 2 hours every Thursday, I created something beautiful without worrying about anyone else. I painted sunsets, oceans, mountains, things that felt peaceful and far away from family dinners and cruel jokes. One painting showed a bird flying away from a cage. The instructor asked what inspired it. I just smiled and said, "Personal experience." She nodded like she understood. My cousin Noah stopped by one Saturday with pizza. We sat on my small balcony, eating and talking about nothing important. He asked if I ever missed them. I thought for a moment. I miss who I thought they were, I said honestly, but I don't miss who they actually are. That's fair. We finished eating, watched the city lights turn on, and he left with a hug. No drama, no tension, just simple kindness. By summer, I'd made friends at work. Real friends who invited me to barbecues and movie nights. People who laughed with me, not at me. They didn't know about the video or the fraud or the family that fell apart. They just knew me as Lily, the person who brought good snacks and told funny stories. One friend, Maria, asked about my family during lunch. "We're not close," I said simply. She didn't push. "That's okay," she replied. "Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up." I thought about Carol and David, about Noah, about this friend sitting across from me. She was right. In August, I got a promotion at work. More responsibility, better pay, respect from my boss. I celebrated by buying myself a nice dinner at a restaurant I'd always wanted to try. I sat alone at a table by the window, ordered exactly what I wanted, and enjoyed every bite. No one rushed me. No one made jokes. No one made me feel small. Just me, good food, and complete peace. Walking home that night, I passed a store window and caught my reflection. I looked different. Not just older, but stronger. More solid somehow. Like I'd finally grown into myself. The girl who folded napkins while everyone laughed felt like a stranger now. A version of me I'd left behind. That night, I wrote in my journal, something I'd started doing after moving. Today I realized I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sad. I'm not waiting for apologies that will never come. I'm just living, and that's enough. I closed the journal and placed it on my nightstand. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new moments, new choices, but they'd all be mine. By fall, the leaves changed colors and the air turned crisp. I started running in the mornings, something I'd never made time for before. Each step felt like moving further away from the past, toward something better. One morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello? Lily, it's Mom. Patricia's voice sounded small and uncertain. I stayed quiet. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything, for not protecting you, for looking away. I took a deep breath. Thank you for saying that. Can we talk sometime? Maybe coffee, she asked hopefully. I'm not ready yet, I said honestly. Maybe someday, but not now. I understand, she whispered. I love you. I know, I replied and hung up. I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed anyone. It was something I'd give if and when I was ready. For now, protecting my peace mattered more. By November, exactly 1 year after Thanksgiving, Carol invited me for dinner. Just us, she promised. Nothing fancy, just family. I arrived with flowers and homemade cookies. David hugged me at the door. The house smelled like roasted chicken and warm bread. We ate at the small kitchen table, talking and laughing. No phones, no videos, no cruelty, just love. After dinner, Carol handed me a small wrapped box. What's this? I asked. Just open it, she smiled. Inside was a silver bracelet with a single charm, a bird in flight. For the girl who found her wings, Carol said softly. I put it on immediately, tears filling my eyes. Thank you for everything, for taking me in, for believing me, for helping me find myself. That's what family does, David said simply. Driving home that night, I thought about 2 Thanksgivings. Last year, standing in a house that felt like a prison, being filmed and mocked. This year, sitting in a kitchen that felt like home, being loved and celebrated. The difference wasn't the location. It was me. I'd changed everything by changing the one thing I could control, myself. My boundaries, my choices, my life. They once called me a servant. They were wrong. I was never their servant. I was always my own person. I just needed to remember that. And now I never forget. If this story touched your heart, share it below. Subscribe to Glow Girl Revenge. Your support means everything. Thank you for watching.